It is another Fired Up Friday, and I am thrilled to be here with my friend Candidly Tip again, as always. It is so good to allow to have this time. Hang on a second, y'all. I'm multitasking here.
Well, I'm laughing because we actually matched today. We have our leopard cheetah on. So good for us. We are
I
we're
know.
it's Aries season now. So that we are out of what do they call it? The Mercury in retrograde. So maybe things will get a little bit better. Maybe.
My thoughts exactly. So yes, I am really, like I said, so glad to be able to have discussions with people who I know understand what's going on, because it's really very frustrating sometimes to for yourself to know what's going on, but not to be able to have discussions with other people, because you just want to scream. And I know that,
Mhm.
we're not alone. And I guess, one of the frustrations I felt this week, I'm still kind of doubly focusing here, Tip, because I'm trying to make sure that we are visible on the Substack app. Um,
Let
I
me.
see people in the chat, but I don't see us. Um,
Yeah, it shows me live. So I'm live on mine. I see you live. It's showing
you
you.
do? Okay, I've done something here because I'm watching it on my tablet,
I
and
went
so
to Substack and I see we are both showing live. So
okay, good. Now I can focus again. Sorry, folks.
it is it's hard because it doesn't like automatically tell you like when you're connected. So and you got to make sure the key is in the whole thing. So I get it. I get it.
Exactly, exactly. And right now I am frustrated, of course, by the war, and the folks that seem to be okay with this idiot just unilaterally making all the decisions about um, this war that he started. It is a war of choice, his choice and BB's choice. And I'm proud of the Democrats for, pushing legislatively to bring attention to it. They may not have the power to actually change it, but I do think that it matters that they are forcing Republicans to get on the record with allowing him no accountability, because I think that matters, because we have, these kind of two battles going on. They, of course, are busy, they being the Republicans, putting all of their energy into this SAVE Act. And I mean, that is not likely to pass. But that's how relentless they are when they want something. They are really just kind of softening all of the obstacles that are there, the people and those types of things. And that's why they're trying to force this, extended debate, this talking filibuster, so to speak.
The funny thing with the talking filibuster piece of this is that they don't even the way that they have framed this to their base is as if they're going to get this passed. But if you understand how the Senate works, you understand how they need 60 votes to pass this. Yeah, they're going to debate it. They're going to talk. First of all, they can barely hold a quorum, meaning that they don't even have enough people in the Senate right now to have a quorum. So they're not they like nine of them are missing. Seven of the Democrats are missing today, but it is upon the Republicans to be there because this is the bill that they are supposed to be fighting for. And the lies and the manipulation that they use to kind of talk about this bill, I think is very much indicative of how they operate when they're just trying to make it seem like, oh, you just need an ID to vote. You have to use your ID to get a job. And I told this one person had said to me yesterday, which I just love when people comment back to me, because he's like, well, I had to fill out an I-9 form and I needed to have my passport and my birth. I said, actually, you don't need all of that to get a job. You just need an ID and your social security card. You don't need that. This other person told me, well, the real ID, everybody needs to have a real ID. I said, actually, not everybody has to have a real ID. The real ID has to do with getting on a plane and being able to travel. So if you just have a regular ID, you cannot get on well, you could probably pay. I think they charge people now if you don't have it for a temporary amount of time, then you can get on but if you don't have most people don't have a passport. Most people, 50% of Americans have a passport. It's like an actual privilege to have a passport if you are somebody that likes to travel, go out of the country. Most people haven't even left their area, their state. I mean, we are not living.
This is why they're so dumb about some of the civic matters.
People don't even leave their jurisdiction. So, I mean, it's really frustrating to hear people talk about the SAVE Act. And I think, Democrats I think they've done a decent job of trying to explain it. I know Chuck Schumer, I thought about this yesterday because he keeps saying like I get why he's saying it. He's like, it's Jim Crow 2.0, but I feel like that message doesn't really work. It's like there needs to be.
You're going to have to break it down, Chucky, because some of these people don't even understand what Jim Crow is. And so, and I'm glad that he is saying it. So it lets me know he understands, but they're going to have to get a little better about messaging it to other people and they cannot, this is one of those moments where they cannot get stuck in the Republican framing and narrative, because they are trying to make it seem as though it's just simply, this is about IDs. So why are you pitching a fit? No, sir. No, this is about disenfranchising a vast number of people, a lot of women, and certainly Black and brown people, which will ultimately allow them to lead to basically, citizenship, regarding whether someone has full citizenship or not. And really and truly, if you can't vote unless, you have lost your voting rights or you're not allowed because, you haven't, done your civic, duty or became a naturalized citizen, that's just the core of being a citizen in this country, the ability to vote. Right. And they have forever, since its founding, tried to disenfranchise the Black and brown and indigenous people that have been here. And this is just a new way for them to do it,
I think what people don't realize about this bill, I think I read this morning, 38 out of the 50 states require an ID already. So there's 12 states, including mine, that do not require you to have an ID to vote, right? So in Maryland, you sign up to vote and you put in your driver's license information. They run the check to see if you are a citizen. If it takes like 24 hours, and then you get, you're approved to vote. And then when you go to the polls, they ask you what your address is. You give them your address, your name, and that's it. Most of the time, to be honest, I end up giving them my ID anyway, because I don't feel like having to say my address and my name at the polling place. So I'm like, here, just take that.
I just have it out. Yeah.
Just have it out. So I understand the ID piece of it. It's something that has become, a talking point, something. I don't think that most Democrats are even opposed to having some form of ID, whether it could be, it doesn't they want photo ID. Okay. So the driver's license isn't the only form of photo ID that's available. The goal is so that people can be able to vote. We're supposed to be making this easier for people to vote, not harder, but we know their goal is to actually make it harder.
And
So
therein lies the key.
right. And a part of this SAVE Act, which people are not talking about, which I wish Democrats would talk about more, is that they're trying to get rid of mail-in voting. And that is a major piece of this legislation. And we all know that the people who mostly vote by mail are Democrats, people who are disabled, people who are elderly. It's just easier to be able to sign it, give it to somebody to put in the mail, and you don't have to go to the polls. That especially in places where it is far to go vote, you don't have the means to get there. It's not like in some states, it's not like you can just go to your local school. We talked about this last time, that they've made it more difficult to be able to vote. So there is a lot of things, like you said, the fact that if you are a person who is married and you have a different last name, or were married and have a different last name than what's on your birth certificate, now you have to bring your birth. I'm not carrying my birth certificate all around. I mean, this is crazy stuff. I don't want to, my passport, I definitely don't want to carry that around. That's like, if you lose it, you got to pay money to get another one. It costs 160 something dollars to get a passport. Again, it's a privilege to have that document. And now if you want to make it free for everybody, then fine. But that's not what Republicans want to do.
Exactly. Because the obstacles that some people, minor though they may be, would have to overcome to produce these things is a cost. And that's where the poll tax thing comes in. And it could be as minor as the place where you get your birth certificate being in another city. So you have to travel to that city. If you don't have a car, then you're going to have to pay someone or public transportation. Then you're going to have to pay for the document, and if you need that with the birth certificate, and then you got to go get the ID or whatever. And if there's any type of contention at the with you on your voter roll, then you're going to have to show up at the voting place again in person. And so it's just a way of kind of frustrating people, making them have to jump through more hoops to exercise their right as citizens. And as far as like the mail-in voting, well, what does that do to the millions of Americans who live abroad? Because we do have a lot of them that live abroad. So you're just going to say, okay, you don't get to participate in the elections of your country. And a lot of them, I will tell you from experience, are veterans. But what about the military people? Now you have shipped a whole bunch of military people over, to the Middle East. How do they get to vote? I mean, you're literally deciding on, their life and death in some instances. And they don't get to decide on who's deciding on that. Come on now. That's not right.
The whole thing is just kind of frustrating to listen to them talk about, but it also frustrates me with Democrats too, because I feel like they need to start hammering some of this stuff home. We know the bill is going to fail. It's not going to pass. They don't have the votes. They would literally have to change the filibuster rule for them to do it. Like I said, they can't even keep a quorum. They want what they wanted to do, or what some are asking to do, is to have a talking filibuster. But to have a talking filibuster, you have to have everybody there and continuously talk.
Well, here's the thing. Mike Lee, he's been pushing this for a long time. Like, I have watched him in these Twitter spaces, because it's still that to me. He about 3 weeks ago or so, he had a whole bunch of them in there about, I think we talked about it on the live, trying to rally the troops, so to speak, to contact their representatives to make them have this talking debate, this talking filibuster. And so he was on there again this week. He was like, now we're here. And he was instructing them again on what they need to do and what to push for. And what was really most grotesque to me was that he was actually explaining this and using the example of the 1960s voting rights, and literally talking about how difficult it was for them to get that passed, and how they use this technique essentially to get it passed. So he wants to use the same technique basically to take away those rights. I
Right.
mean, it's just
Yeah,
gross.
well, I mean, the way the talking filibuster used to be how the filibuster was, you know, administered, how they used it in from till before it was like, I think it's 1975 is when they changed the rule that allowed for it to be like a voting filibuster. I could have the year wrong, but I believe it was around like Rockefeller, not Rockefeller, what's his name? I think it's Norman Rockefeller. I think he was the one that was in the Congress, and they changed it. It was one of the guys from New York, and
Mhm.
they ended up changing it because it was at one point there was like it was like 67. The threshold was like 2/3, and then they like I did a whole thing on this back when we were doing the filibuster stuff, and the history of it is very much that they were trying to stop the Voting Rights Act. They didn't want it. And I love when people are like, well, the Democrats weren't the Democrats then and the Republicans. Shut up. I don't hear that foolishness. Like, and it was a different type of Congress back then. What we have now is just a Congress that is like obstructionist kind of Congress. They just
Thanks to the Tea Party coming in and taking over, and that's kind of what the leftists want to do to the Democratic Party. So we'll really just have a stalemated government.
the Tea Party, which is a joke in itself. And so interesting that they want to use that phrase because we already know what the Tea Party was all about. So it's like y'all are really like playing with fire here. It's just, the whole thing is just silly, and yeah, there's no way. And John Thune has said, who was the Senate Majority Leader, for those that don't know, he said that there's definitely not going to have the votes to change it to a talking filibuster. We went through this as well in 2022 when we were trying to do our Voting Rights Act, John Lewis Voting Rights Act. And we got stopped by Sinema and Manchin, who did not want to do the talking filibuster and therefore killed our bill.
Yeah.
So this is the same thing that's going to happen to them. Unfortunately, administratively, it is very hard to pass legislation within the Senate. The House is much easier. You just need a majority. The Senate has barriers. And in some ways, the filibuster works to your advantage when you're in the minority. That's just how it works. So
And that's who really it works best for,
exactly.
it's really, one of the powers, so to speak, that you still are able to retain. So you may not be able to get legislation passed, but you can kind of prevent some,
Yeah.
if we don't have too many Fettermans or
And then that's the ironic thing about this, right? I mean, the fact that Fetterman gave the vote to move forward with Mark, which is the most ridiculous name, Mark, to allow that, even though Rand Paul, that's his son, right? Rand Paul, he said he voted no on it. So if Fetterman would have voted no, that his whole thing would have been killed. But
Right.
no, that's not what he said. That's his friend, and so he wanted to move forward. Like the moment that they announced it, he said he was going to vote. You didn't keep an open mind. You didn't vet him. You didn't do any of that.
Did Fetterman say it was his friend?
Oh yes, he said that today. He said that his.
Ooh, okay, that's why I haven't seen it. So that tells us a lot, pretty much almost everything we already knew about Fetterman, because Mullins is not a great guy.
He said he kept an open mind and decided to move forward. This is not an exact quote, but he basically moved forward, and he's a colleague and a friend, and that's what he wanted to do. So this was the hard part, I think, of being in the minority. One, even in the majority, you still have these people that want to kind of do their own thing, and Fetterman is one of those people, which we've seen it before with Sinema, we've seen it with Manchin, where they are not the team player, they actually play for the other team and help them to be able to do stuff. Now, of course, people will say, well, Fetterman, he votes 90% with Democrats. Okay, well, and he hasn't been a person that has kind of been the person who has, the I guess the person who was determining vote. Well, he was yesterday. And
Hmm.
only thing I could say to people was, I told you so. I told people he was going to be this way. He is not a person that has, he's not a person that has like this huge like moral compass. He has no ideology. He will go with whatever. He's easily persuadable. And if he thinks Republicans are his friend, I have something to say about that, because they're not your friends. They will throw you under the bus the minute that they have a chance to, and they are not people that should ever be trusted. So the thing is that Fetterman, and we've talked about him before, he grew up with Republicans. He decided to become a Democrat, unlike his father. And I just feel like he's going back to his roots. His dad must be really proud of him and the way that he is conducting himself in the Senate. And he says he's from a swing state. Well, today they did a poll and he is like negative 40 in
I love it.
favorability with Democrats. And I am not surprised, because, again, we warned that this man was not a true blue Democrat. True blue Democrats by the way that they vote. When he didn't have a voting record, he was very flip floppy on a lot of issues. And while Connor Lamb and Malcolm Kenyatta may have not been the person that Pennsylvania wanted to vote for in that election, they had fair warning that these two men were better than this man. I supported,
And
obviously.
they each had a track record that you could check, and that is the danger and the importance really of us vetting these people who are running, because they really are making decisions that affect people's lives, and in some ways very deadly, because Fetterman seems to enjoy just being a contrarian.
Yes, he does.
Like there's some people who just like, well, everybody likes this, so I don't like it.
He is. I think I wrote that earlier in the week, that he is very much a contrarian. This is who I mean, unfortunately, I know way too much about him, more than I would ever want to know, because I obviously studied him for like a whole year and vetted him and did more than most people when it comes to his background. And it just goes to show you how people um they fall into these traps where the person that's the loudest, the person that is
The
seemingly
most showy.
eyed, yeah, performative,
Hmm.
and who is supposedly what do they call, like, they're like the like down, like we call it like down with the cause or whatever. But
Yeah,
he
with the
he
culture kind of
yeah,
thing.
he was like down with like the bro culture, and he was more so, he was a Bernie person. And so people thought that he was like this progressive who wore shorts and was like real like cool and chill and vibesy. And now you're hating him when we told you this is who this man was. And we are seeing the same patterns with the guy from Maine. And honestly, I refuse to even entertain half the stuff. I did see, obviously Liz Warren endorsed him yesterday, and I was just like, okay, she had endorsed like some decent people. She endorsed Juliana Stratton in Illinois. She had endorsed Mallory McMorrow in Michigan, who I like. Um, and then she yesterday threw me for a loop when she endorsed the guy from Maine.
Oh
And
my goodness. You just threw me for a loop, because that is news to me. I mean, this guy is a Nazi. Okay, he is a Nazi lover, sympathizer, and he has twisted himself in all sorts of pretzels to deny that tattoo was a Totenkopf, which is a Nazi symbol, only to just a few days ago on one of those bro podcasts or whatever to say, yeah, and it's no big deal kind of thing. Like, you people want to reduce it to a tattoo when it is much bigger than that, and you don't see that, and they're willing to, like, kind of sweep it under the rug, or say it doesn't matter. He too is someone who has no track record. Like, what is your why for running for office? What? Because you're white? Because
Oh,
you can
they
talk
are really
bad about the establishment? You know?
well, the wild thing, I don't know if you know this, but the reason that he is running and how they recruited him is because they saw him in a video. They saw,
Oh God, we've discussed that ad nauseum, me
yeah,
and a
the
couple of friends. That is so ridiculous.
guess who the people who recruited him were the people for Fetterman.
Yes.
So they have the only other person in their track record obviously is Ruben Gallego, but he's a different kind of person. He actually had a voting record. He was in the Congress. We know, and he drives me crazy sometimes too. But I know he's a true blue Dem. I don't know this man, and I get it. Janet Mills is not a young spring chicken. She's an older woman. But I think what was funny yesterday is that people were like, Liz Warren is only 18 months younger than this woman. So if we're talking about old or young or any of this kind of stuff, like, I get it. You want a younger person in the seat, but this guy is not it. And he's a walking red flag to me.
Yes, we want, maybe younger would be great, but they need some qualifications too. It can't just be that they're young, because what is being done to our democracy, we need skilled legislators there. And I love the kind of clapback commercial that Janet Miles had for him. And it seems like more are coming. So maybe people will wake up. And I'm reading over on Substack. Thank you guys for joining us from wherever you are. We're like in a few different places today. So throw us up some hearts over on Substack to move the algorithm. But Soul Sister was just saying in the chat that Sheldon Whitehouse hosted a fundraiser for him. I'm like,
yeah. Well, that made me laugh because I'm like, hold up, hold on. Can you hear me? Hold on.
yes, I can. Mm-hmm.
So my phone rang, that's why. So I was laughing because I'm like, he is supposed to be the non-establishment kind of guy, yet he is hanging out with the establishment, which makes him, isn't that supposed to be like a sin? Like, if you're sinning against what you're believing in. You're saying that the establishment is terrible, you don't want to be like them, but you're okay with going to a fundraiser. I find all these things so hypocritical, in not just this race, in so many of them, because that fundraiser, I think the starting price was like $5,000.
Oh my goodness.
So this is not even like grassroots type of, okay, we're gonna have, a couple of
Like a rally kind of thing, a community,
meet and greet is gonna cost, $25, $50, $100. This is a big money fundraiser put on by people who are considered to be the establishment, right? And you guys are okay with that. I just find that to be just hypocritical, the same way that people were okay with super PACs attacking Jasmine, but then saying on the other breath that super PACs are bad. Like, you can't have these things both ways. So I just don't trust anyone who's flip-floppy and all these little things that they're not even little. They're just things that are very much making me feel like, okay, well, our democracy is just going to hell, because people are very inconsistent in their beliefs. They're inconsistent in how they feel about politics, about people, who should be running in these seats, who should not. And then we see what happened in Illinois on Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you say they're inconsistent. Yes, to a degree, but I say that they're very consistent in their white leaning superiority.
That's
okay. That to me, that's the consistent thread, which, makes them do these very kind of inconsistent things, seemingly as, Democrats. But for that white supremacy aspect, it's very consistent, and
that part most definitely is consistent. I just think for me, it's like Liz Warren what is your what like you liked Graham Plattner and he's supposed to be the person that you feel is the best person, but yet you were the same person that was calling out Bloomberg about his NDAs, and you were mad at Pete Hegseth about his tattoos. So it starts to look like it's very selective on when you are okay with these things. The same thing that happened with John Fetterman. You were very selective in that because you didn't see anything wrong with the fact that he chased down a black man. You don't see anything wrong with the Nazi. And we're screaming to the top of our lungs, these are red blaring flags. What the hell are you not understanding about this? So
Yeah.
it's the whole thing just pisses me off because it seems like there's, like I said, that part of it is very inconsistent and how they view things that, because Janet Mills is a white woman, you would think. I mean, I'm not saying like we want to do the identity politics thing. Yeah, Liz Warren doesn't have to support the white woman. You know what I mean? She doesn't have to do that. But why are you supporting the white man with the red flags? Or just why don't you just stay neutral?
Exactly. Like you don't even have to get into this fight. And Green over on Spoutable, she said, Plattner is always saying he's against corporate PAC money, but holds this lobbyist studded DC fundraiser. Like that inconsistency. And the same thing went on with Tellerico and how all of his supporters were attacking Jasmine for PAC money, some that she didn't even take, like APAC, and attaching while he's getting money from Marion, what's her name, Adelson, and other big PAC money, and his best friend is running all these, formed the PAC a few days before he, put his hat in the ring or registered officially, and attacked her. It really doesn't bode well for our democracy, which is why, I've been reading some of your stuff on Twitter, and I think we're in kind of the same frame of mind. Like, I know that we're newsies and we keep up with what's going on, but I just cannot stay as plugged in to all of this stuff and engaging with all this craziness and the crazy people on these social media apps, because what is literally being done in real time by the people who have control of the government is so dangerous, and it is happening at such a high velocity so frequently. It really is a little discombobulating. And I know that what they're trying to do, we have to keep our wits about us. Like, we understand survival. People of color understand what it means to survive.
Also knowing when to check out, right?
Exactly.
At some point you just say, you know what, like I just can't deal with this anymore. My escape these days is my little monkey punch. That's my escape of just seeing him grow and enjoying the posts that people are putting up. But thank you to all the people in Japan who are posting about it. They're going to the zoo. I mean, it's like these little things, because there's so much happening that it's really hard to even think about all of the things that are just bad that are happening in this world. The war, there's the economy. We're seeing people getting laid off left and right. And can't you when you're trying to consume all of that, it is very disheartening and it is very stressful to know that we didn't have to be here. We didn't have to be in this position.
Yeah, that part right there. And for me, I am leaning into joy. I'm encouraging others to find their modes of finding joy and being intentional about it, because that is really a form of self-care, because they are trying to kill us in multiple ways, and the authoritarian reign in this country is just getting tighter and tighter. I mean, dissent is being squashed as we speak. I mean, it's kind of like Putin when he invaded Ukraine. He didn't want people calling it a war. And we kind of have the same thing going on here, where they are threatening outlets for reporting anything about it. He's calling it an excursion. Then they're lying on the family members of the fallen soldiers, of the dead soldiers, saying that they are telling them that it's okay, that like when they were at that dignified transfer, that the families told them that they wanted them to finish it. But I'm so glad that one of the family members' dad was interviewed, and he was like, no, I said nothing of the kind. You know, it wasn't like that. So people are almost sleepwalking into autocracy, and they are getting more and more controls of our voices and our power, you know, and then you got people acting like this. It's really, really frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond frustrating, but I mean, I think this week I was really looking forward to the Illinois primary to see kind of I felt like it was a litmus test to see like which way the party is planning to go, right? I mean, Illinois is a blue state
Hmm.
and there's blue districts that were up. There was a the Senate race, Dick Durbin obviously retiring, and so they get to pick um a new senator. So I was very happy that Juliana Stratton won. I liked Robin Kelly as well. I don't have any beef with Raja Krishnamurthy, but it was a different kind of race where you had three people of color, two black women, an Indian man, and I didn't think it was necessary for us to have to be involved in that race. I felt very strongly that this was something that the people of Illinois would have to figure out on their own. And there were definitely definitely a lot happening in the race, which I was paying attention to. But of course, at the end of the day, she wins, and they're like, "Where's K Hive? Why wasn't K Hive support?" Excuse me, guys. Excuse me. I watched the debates. I was very much involved in this, but I was not loud or in opposition to anyone. It's like y'all want us to be loud. And when we're not loud, then it's like, where are you? You can't have it both ways.
Well, and that's another thing of preserving our energy, because I mean, you know, the people who had a vote there, I'm sure they were pretty loud, but you know, I pay attention to other races around the country. For me, that race was indicative of like, what's this woman's name? Kat. Can't think of her last name, but you know, coming in, not really living in the community, and you know, being part of that wing of the party that really, I feel like they're more nihilist than they are anything else. They just want to come in and destroy it. And her concession
They're the
speech,
Tea Party. That is who
yeah.
they consider the Tea. That is what David Hogg called
Mhm.
the Democratic Tea Party. And you had Kat, you had the guy Robert Peters, I believe his name is. He came in like, I don't know, third or fourth. I mean, Kat came, she actually did better than I thought she was going to do. But the way that APAC like attacked the guy who actually won was insane to me. Like they really were for the person that came in third place, which was I think her name was Laura Fine. But
Mhm.
the amount of money that was spent in that race alone is absurd. Okay?
Yeah.
It
And
is
and really the whole thing about it is, I mean, people are screaming about money in politics, and they want to scream about APAC mostly. And to me, that is just the red flag of them not really being in, you know, being disingenuous. Because, you know, if you want to scream about people having outsized influence or whatever in politics, I don't see you screaming about these lobbyists of the fossil fuel industry, of the defense contractors, because they surely wanted this war as much as if y'all think APAC did or whatever, because they profit off of all of these things. That whole thing over there in the Strait of Hormuz, you know, he is consulting with, you know, oil folks on, you know, how to make his moves, and looking at the Dow as opposed to our troops and the national security of our country. He's about to give millions back to this one fossil fuel company that had wind farms up, in New York and North Carolina, maybe somewhere else, so that they don't continue those projects, which would have made the residents in those areas, energy costs go
But
down.
and that is the crazy part. That is in Maryland, we pay the most of any state when it comes to energy. And we've been trying to do all kinds of stuff to bring costs down. There's obviously, I think it was like a JPC, JPMC, whatever it's called. The it's like 13 states that are kind of like in a conglomerate, and our legislature is working really hard to try to bring costs down. We were trying to build a wind farm, whatever it's called, offshore. The Trump administration is trying to stop that. I mean, all these things that we've been trying to do for years. Think about how they killed like Biden's bill that was passed. What was it? Not the
the infrastructure
infrastructure, but the one that the Inflation Reduction Act, which had a ton of money for energy projects. They basically rolled that whole thing back. I mean,
yeah. And the ones that remain, they put their names on it. Like they bashed him when they were doing it. They didn't vote for it, but they are literally changing. Trump is changing the signs and putting his name and his administration on projects.
No chill. He doesn't care. And fortunately, we let them get away with it, right? Because we don't really say him too much. It's just the whole thing just really pissed. But like back to Illinois, I think what really pisses me off about it is that we not only now have to deal with UDP, AIPAC, and these races, you also now have to deal with the money of crypto. You now have to deal with the money of AI. Like you said, there are other lobbyists that are very much in these politicians' ear and who are willing to give them money. And of course, this is what politics has come down to. And I get it. I understand the left when they are saying about money in politics, but also at the same time, you can't have crypto backing you and acting like it's okay. Like this is
exactly like you gotta look at it from a broader viewpoint. And when you're not doing that, I feel like you have another agenda. And many of them do, because they're picking and choosing.
The selective inconsistency of Democrats. And if you're for my candidate, I'm cool. But if you're against my candidate, I hate you, right? Why do they hate? Why do people hate when AIPAC's involved in these races? It's not the fact that they're taking AIPAC money. It's because of a Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, and now a Cat, where they are in very much opposition to leftists and progressives becoming, and Dan Biss, the guy who won. They don't want these people to be in the Congress, and they have their reasonings. A lot of it they feel like they're anti-Semitic. They are lobbyists. That's what they do. And they have money to spend to put commercials on, which the commercials does not have anything to do with Israel, even though they are pro-Israel. Same thing with crypto. They're not putting on ads about crypto. They're finding other things to put ads on about. And unfortunately,
and the gambling industry, elections have, gambling and these companies, and usually there's crossover and intersection with that crypto money and other things. And I can't remember the name of it now, but I think it was Arizona that just banned Kalshi or something like that from operating in their state.
Before I came on here, I read an email from our elections person. I forget, he's not the Secretary of State, but he runs our elections here in Maryland. He's like, just so you know, those markets are actually illegal in Maryland. You're not supposed to be doing this. So people are getting hip to it. But the sad part is like the Kalshi people, that is, who's on the board of that? Don Jr.
Of course. Yeah.
And the reason that this is so dangerous to me is that now the AP is giving over their like election data to them, like all like their numbers, like how they
So
what
that
they
they
do
can do
all
the
races, you know, like they know like how
weighting.
many people are in specific precincts, all their like data that they have. So this is now becoming a bigger issue to me. But just the whole like the super PAC thing just pisses me off. And unfortunately, when you have like Angela, she needed the help last like in 2024. She needed the help of all these people to help her win against the dude that had $60 million to spend out of his pocket, which is absolutely insane. But we're gonna end up getting more and more. So it's really hard to be like, no, I hate super PACs, because sometimes you actually need them to help when you have like these races with people that are super rich. I mean, Roger Krishnamurti had like 24, he had like $24 million that he spent to lose. Like that's crazy to me. Juliana had 5. People were mad that JB Pritzker, obviously he's rich at the end of the day. His sister, his whole family, they're billionaires. They gave money to a super PAC to be able to help Juliana Stratton. Robin Kelly didn't have that support. Jasmine didn't even have that support when she was running.
No.
So it's like the people who are getting involved in these races, not so much necessarily APAC, but even the others who are involving themselves, they come and they go, and now you're beholden to them in many ways because they help you to win. And this is the problem. But progressives to me and leftists don't see that. They only see that when it comes to APAC or pro-Israel stuff. They don't see that when it comes to crypto or AI or all these other,
Or the fossil fuel industry
right.
and the defense contractors who have been around forever. I mean,
And they put it on corporate PAC money, but really and truly, corporate PACs can only give but so much. Where you see that influence is in the super PACs. That's where you see
yeah, the super PACs and the lobbyists, like, because a lot of lawmakers who leave office go to work for these big lobbying firms on K Street up there. And I mean, you have these organizations like Americans for Prosperity, a Koch funded, and there are others that come, really all of them on the right come under the umbrella of the Council for National Policy. The Heritage Foundation would be one of them, but they all have their different, their specific issues that they kind of lobby for and around, but they spend a lot of money. In fact, they have this, it's called Donors Trust, that is part of their kind of financial infrastructure, so that their conservative folks, when they die, can literally will money to these different PACs and organizations, charities and organizations that fight for or promote the issues that they care about. Say it's anti-abortion or voting rights or whatever. So they have a lot of money invested in elections or whatever. And it makes no sense to me that if we are fighting them, that we are going to tie ourselves, tie one hand behind our back, making crazy pledges and purity, because it sounds good or whatever. Do we want to win or do we want to win? And unfortunately, the way our elections are in this country, until there's broad changes made, requires money,
and elections are not getting cheaper, they're getting more expensive. And the people that have money are definitely able to influence them. It feels like we're just in hell, because I just watch these races and I just see how much money is being spent. I mean, when you think about the presidential race, billions of dollars were spent to elect a president, and that's on both sides, right? I mean, Kamala raised over $1 billion. What could we be doing with that money?
I mean, think of the affordable housing that could be met.
It's just just the more and more that I just look at politics, the more and more I get frustrated with it because it is no longer something that I just find to be like real anymore. It's just become very fake, and every people that are involved in politics are fake, and the people social media is fake, and the lobbyists are fake. Like all this, like candidates, some of them are fake. Like it is really hard to find genuine people. And I think some of these people want to do well. Like some like the cat girl, I don't think that she wanted to be. I don't I know she's like an influencer and she had like, but she has no experience. Like you're asking people to really say vote for me. I don't have experience, but I am going to do the job in Washington. What the hell are people thinking? I mean, I have 20 people running in my district for my Congress seat. Steny Hoyer is, retiring. There's so many people running. And I just look at the people and I'm just like, I don't really like any of these people, to be honest. I mean, they're friends of mine. Like, I like them personally, but for this job, you need to have, there's criteria that I have for you to be my congressperson. I need to know that you have experience to be able to do the job, understand legislation,
To be
understand,
able to govern,
yeah, to govern, to deal with, to be able to speak up in the face of all the crazy stuff that happens in Washington, right? You have to be a fighter, and it's easier to be a fighter than it is to be somebody who has experience, right? Because not everybody's going to have that experience. But
Yeah, but you don't even have to have it in, I talk about this to my friends. It doesn't even have to necessarily be in governing.
right,
If you had been in some other type of business, there are certain skill sets that can carry over. But I don't know where oyster farming carries over
yeah,
into governing.
I mean, some people would say like he was in the military, and I would say, well, he was in the military, but he also worked for Blackwater. So
Exactly. And then when he tried to rejoin, they stopped him
right,
because of those
a tattoo.
tattoos.
Right. So there's things like Westmore, he wasn't somebody who had political experience. He's not a political person. But he had experience in the military. He
Mhm.
was somebody who ran the largest anti-poverty organization in the country. So there were things that you could be like, okay, well, maybe he doesn't have the political experience, but he does have the life experience. He does have, because to me, people that are in the military, I kind of put them a little bit ahead of some other people because that's a very disciplined kind of thing where you have to fall in line and follow orders. And so I put that person like a little bit above
About that business.
in a different way. But it just feels like the standards are so low now because people want somebody who's different. They want somebody who they think is going to be the change maker. Like, what did we learn from Donald Trump? Because he's like the worst president I've ever.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like they're voting for high school prom queen and king or something. It's like a personality contest, and people are wanting people to literally perform, to entertain them. I was very frustrated earlier in the week. I was talking to some friends and what I've been doing. I've been doing this for, 5 years, over 5 years now. And I'm going to continue to do it because I believe that like my approach is informing people and helping to encourage them to to get engaged or to stay engaged. But I just periodically I have to recalibrate my approach because it's very frustrating because I feel like our society has gotten so dumbed down that people are kind of anti-intellectual. They don't, and when they get information about elections and things like that, or what is happening, around government and laws, they would rather be entertained than informed. So what has happened is those two things have merged, and what we have is a lot of infotainment. Like you have to entertain people to inform them.
Absolutely. I mean, just social media in general You
Mhm.
have to be performative in order to get people's attention, which is why I'm like, you know what? I don't really even care about this anymore. Like I don't have the like I said, I don't have the patience to sit there. Like Kenny's great at it. He comes up with the
He's
craziest
got
things.
the energy, and I
Like,
hope
younger
that they're
people have the and more energy, but me at this age, I'm like, you know what? I'm not really in the mood to do this. I just want to go and see my monkey, see what's going on social media. If I see something, I may remark about it, but I don't really want to do videos that much anymore. Like if I unless there's something that really like sparks something
touching.
in me. Like
Mhm.
yesterday, John Fetterman pissing me off. That sparked something. I didn't even speak in the video. I just was like, I just used Kamala's like voice. Like I just don't have like the energy within me to even really do politics as much as I used to do. And
Yeah.
that kind of makes me sad.
It makes me sad too because I know how much you love it, and I know that you will be someone, whether, you're doing those same things or not. I know you're going to be someone who keeps up with what's going on and who stays informed, and you have a circle of influence, around you, and you're always engaging locally. So I know that you will continue to inform people and, pass your information and knowledge along. But it does sadden me a little bit that, like, politics has always been kind of ugly, but it has just gotten really particularly nasty. And I hate that because, like, that entertainment factor that everyone is expecting, we have a freaking Department of Defense who are sending out, memes and entertaining videos about war. That is disgusting.
It's
You
so
know,
no, it is disgusting. Like I said, we're in a very weird kind of place in politics because in some ways people are motivated to vote in November. It feels like there's a lot of people that have been showing up for these primaries more than usual. I saw a chart the other day, I think it was the New York Times, where it shows the amount of people that showed up in like 2022 compared to now, and there's so many more people that are showing up to these primaries, and that's kind of a good thing because the people are
agree.
excited. They're going to get younger people in office, and there's a lot of people are retiring. So, in a sense, we got that piece of it where people are more
More
excited,
engaged.
more engaged, but also there's so much disinformation and misinformation out there that people don't even know what's real and what's fake anymore. Like yesterday, like there was a picture of like this is off topic, but like Tyler Perry and this woman named Marlo, and you saw that, right? And people they showed them kissing, but they're like, no, that's AI. But people really fell for it. So it's not even like a political thing. It's just in general where people are easily taking things that they see, doing no kind of research or using discernment to be like, no, I saw that. I was like, that looks fake. But people really don't use their minds to really think. And the same thing with those war videos, right? I mean, they were using NFL players. They're what deep fakes, I guess is what it's called.
Yeah, and they actually, and that really all that is, what that tells us is where we are in the information war, and we are deep in it
And
because people, and it has been done to us kind of on purpose in a multitude of ways, like, just the straight out propaganda kind of thing, but using these kind of meme wars and conditioning people, along with that, to like really be heartless and have no empathy for, really violence and hurtful, harmful things. And the fact that I hear a lot of people now talking about, I didn't know whether that was AI or not. It's to get you to a point where you don't know truth.
right.
And then also in destroying certain sites and books and things like that, so you can't even find it. And that is a perfect place for an autocrat to have the population where they don't know what truth is. It's too exhausting to find it. They don't care. And, then you can control them.
And a lot of it is manipulation. Before I got on here, I saw a video from the New York Times, and they were talking about Texas in the Rio Grande Valley, and the guy is saying, how He's a Latino guy, and he's saying how, he voted for Trump, but, he basically, the economy there is wrecked because of ICE, the ICE raids. People's businesses are struggling because people don't want to
Mhm.
leave the house. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, you guys believed a con artist who lied to you and told you the border was going to be better under his administration, but really and truthfully, while they are deporting more people are scared to even live their lives because they don't know what's going to happen. It's not even just people that are here, undocumented. It's people who are actually documented who are worried that they're going to get pulled over or the police are going to stop them. They're going to be asked for documents. Like,
Yeah.
are now causing more issues, not to mention all the things that have happened with ICE. And it just feels like, a lot of that stuff is like shoved under the rug. And these people in the Congress are like, oh, well, we just need to open DHS back up. Okay, but where's the accountability? Where now you see all these lines at the TSA. Today I saw people the CNN has a whole tracker of how long it takes to go through the airport. And I'm like, thank goodness I don't have to go anywhere for the next couple of weeks. But the fact that people are having to stand on these lines because people are not, if you ever go to the airport, the people that work in TSA, they're usually younger, black, brown, and they're not getting paid to go to work. So how are they supposed, mind you, gas is how much? Almost $4, five something for diesel. Like, we are putting people in a really bad predicament, and yet you're blaming the Democrats rather than listening to the Democrats who are saying, listen, we have a bill, we can open TSA and get these people through the airport. And they're like, no, they still want to negotiate over ICE. ICE has billions of dollars.
I
What do we?
mean, they're still going around here opening up detention centers and stuff. So I'm glad this city down in Georgia, I forget the name of it, but they opened one there. The townspeople didn't know about it. And when they found out about it, this is also a town, an area that has a water shortage there already, an issue with their water supply. And so now they have this detention center there that would put more stress onto that infrastructure. And so you know what they did? They put meters on it and they shut the water off to the detention center.
I mean, I need Democrats to start getting a little bit more, a little crafty
Created. Yes, yeah.
and figure out some ways to like go around some of these things that these people are doing. Like here, we had we had a couple of ICE detention centers that they were trying to do, and the governor and some of our county executives just pulled the permits. They were like, nope, you now you don't have a permit, you can't build. So
Exactly.
sometimes you got to be a little bit creative on how you can get around some of these things because these people are creative in how they do things. So you're going to have to be creative in stopping it.
Yeah, because they are relentless. They are not going to stop. And it is not about a democracy, a pluralistic democracy where we're all recognized as equals, but it is, for them, a type of really a theocracy, which is also a whole nother idiotic thing. Like they're complaining about Muslims coming here. As we start to wind down, I have to share. They're complaining about, too many Muslims coming here and all this Islamophobia that is fomenting actually from representatives in Congress and other places. One of mine is one of the worst culprits, Andy Ogles, which is so disgusting because he represents one of the most diverse districts in the
Oh, wow.
city. And also, it happens to have the largest Kurdish population in the United States. And that's what this man is spewing. So you don't even think the people that you represent, because regardless of who they vote for or whatever, you represent them. They live in your district, but you don't care about them. You don't even think that they belong here. So what do you think will happen to them? What do you think that they will do? And the laws that they're trying to pass here, they don't just target immigrants because a lot of times they don't know. They profile. So they profile Black and brown people. So it means all Black and brown people are on heightened, alert because they could be threatened. And anytime you have an encounter with the police or ICE or law enforcement, you just don't know. You can be totally within your rights, totally legal, and still end up dead or gone. And just the extent of what you have to go through, you know, even when you're targeted in that way and you're not guilty, to prove your innocence or to deal with all of the blowback that comes from that, it's costly. And as you said, meanwhile, the economy is getting worse. I don't know what, you know, the unemployment rate is now, but we know that Black women were one of the largest groups affected very early on. I'm sure that hasn't gotten any better. And they like this gig economy. So a lot of people doing Uber and DoorDash or whatever, but then you drive the gas prices up. How does that work for people?
Exactly. Yeah. The thing is, for the economy to work, you kind of have to have everything kind of in motion, right? I mean, under Biden, it was not perfect. There was a lot. There was obviously inflation. Gas was higher. There was a war. You get yourself back in. We weren't even in that war, but that war impacted so much of the economy in terms of like just food, because we import a lot of stuff. There was also the gas situation because Russia. I mean, there is so much stuff that all this, the engine has to run, but all the parts have to run too. One, you need people to have jobs in order to spend money. If they can't spend money, then businesses start to go out of, they start to go out of business. If you can't afford gas, guess what you're going to do? You're going to stay home. So therefore businesses are going to be impacted. Like, all of these things have to flow together. And unfortunately, we are going to be in for a rude awakening, because I warned about this in December, because I'm seeing it in my own life, where people are consistently getting, corporations, they know what's happening. They can see what's happening, and they are reducing staff, because one, they're making accommodations like they did during COVID to
Mhm.
say, okay, well, our bottom line is money, and we can't afford to pay all of these people, or we can't afford this type to do business in the same way that we're doing business. Same thing's going to happen to small businesses. And it's this like bad cycle,
Like a
and we're
snowball effect. Yeah.
snowball effect indeed, and it's really bad. So I saw that. I don't know if you saw the video of the lady who was like, I voted for Trump 3 times and it's like horrible, in a gas station, and she was like going off about it. And I'm like, you didn't realize that the first time. So a lot of people are coming to realizations, because they thought they were going to do well in this new Trump economy, but a year and some change in, people are like, oh snap, what are we doing? They might be sending our people to war. And every day this man writes some craziness on Truth Social, and it drives the markets. It just screws everything up. So we are in a really bad place in this country, and a lot of people are definitely checking out. I mean, you have to keep your sanity to live in this country at this point.
Well, I'm finding joy as we start to wrap up here. I want to thank everyone who has joined us. I see the chat very active on Substack, so I really appreciate that. I don't know, I didn't have the chat up on, but it looks like we had a little activity over on YouTube. So thank you guys for joining us wherever you are joining and listening to us. But as I said, I think that I'm encouraging others to be intentional about maintaining joy, because it's going to be rough. And for me, I'm leaning into gardening. I have a balcony garden project that I've started. So, I got my little seeds that have started to sprout. So I'm going to be posting more about that. But it's kind of twofold, because I do enjoy seeing those things sprout up, from a little seed. But it's also, a lot of the things that I'm growing are things that I eat, and I won't have to buy from the grocery
There you
store.
go. There you go. Listen, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, no, we got to find joy in the places that we can. And sometimes the joy is brought to you. Sometimes you have to seek it. And
Yeah.
I think that's what we're all hoping for, spring weather soon so we can get out the house and go do stuff. It was a rough winter for I think for mostly everybody, unless you lived in like Southern California, you had nice weather. But for the most part, everybody went through a really hard winter. So I think people are ready for spring and to get out the house and be able to do stuff. But we need gas to be like a normal price, because who's leaving their house with gas prices all high? So
Yeah, people gonna be whipping out board games or making up games.
listen, it's gonna be, listen, people. But the thing is that Americans, they're definitely resourceful, and they will find ways to have some kind of fun, even if it's just going to the park and just enjoying people's company. So
Yeah.
I think we just have, like you said, we have to find joy and figure out like, okay, less time on social media, more time like being in community, talking to people, and doing things that we enjoy, because it's no fun sitting on on social media and seeing all the things that we see.
Yeah.
Even me, I can't do
Yeah, not gonna be doom scrolling, and so sister said that their spring is still elusive because they had,
it.
snow and wind up there. We one day, this weekend, I think we had tornadoes forecasted and snow and
Oh, we
stuff.
did too. Yeah, it was like, I think that same day, it was like Monday, but that
Yeah,
they
yes.
said tornadoes, and then the temperature dropped. It was like 60 something. It drops to like 30. They're like, yeah, it's gonna snow. I'm like, are you kidding me? We gotta get out of this, whatever El Nino, whatever the hell we're in. We gotta get out of this pattern. I'm like, what? I'm like, if we can get like I just want 60s and 70s. I know it's gonna be a hot summer. This is how it always is, but I just want like nice weather. Like I got
Yeah.
it
Well,
makes
some places are experiencing a heat wave right now. I looked at the AccuWeather site when I came on, and they had the map showing, of course, California, but just the tad bit of the western part of Tennessee, because we're a long state. It's like the temps are up in 10 to 30 degrees higher than normal, and that's supposed to be sustained for a while. So I'm all with the heat or whatever, but I really don't want it too hot, because
yeah, I'm like careful with that kind of that thing. You get careful what you ask for, because before you know it,
exactly.
like you're like, oh, I hate this winter, and then it's like 95 degrees, and you're like, oh, I don't want to deal with this either. So I'm gonna try to. I'm just saying, I just want 60s and 70s. I would like a spring that would be nice, not a rainy spring, a sunny spring, to get
Yeah.
out the house and be able to do stuff. But
All
we'll see.
right.
All right, friend. Well, good talking to you.
Likewise, and again, I want to thank everyone who has joined us. We really appreciate your support. And Tiff, I always love, being able to have these conversations with you. To hang in there. I know, like I said, you're going to keep doing what you do, but I'll be following some of your joy, and maybe we can, spread some joy to other folks in the community.
Listen, I have gotten people didn't even know about my little monkey. And now I'm like, people are like, oh, thank you for the monkey. Cause I always post about it. That's like 85% of my posts is posting about a little punch. And so sometimes you got to be the person that spreads the joy, like you said. So
Exactly. Initiate joy. So, folks, have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks. And until then, continue to stay informed, but be intentional about your joy. Until then, we'll see you back in a couple of weeks for Fired Up Friday. Bye-bye. Okay.